Once again, welcome all. Trustees, faculty and staff, faculty emeriti, trustees emeriti, alumni, families, friends, and most important, members of the graduating class of 2019. Thank you all for honoring this class and all of us on the faculty and staff with your presence here today. Before I say anything else, let me please start by acknowledging with gratitude, this is our year of gratitude, students, right? Heartfelt gratitude, the adults in the community. Andover thrives as a direct result of individual and collective diligence, support, and love. To the adults, all the adults who select our students in the admission process, who care for our students every day, who care for this beautiful campus. Does the green not look incredibly verdant? It's amazing. That rain has paid off for all of you. Who provide us with all the resources we need, and who teach and help our students all along the way. Thank you. As this is my last commencement as head of school, I'd like to ask you all to join me in an especially big, rousing round of applause for the faculty, the staff, and the faculty emeriti of Phillips Academy. Thank you. Ava, you can stand up. Ava, that was a good idea. Thank you, students, for helping me with that. To the parents and grandparents, guardians, and friends, you too deserve our heartfelt and enduring thanks. You have made great sacrifices to give our students the opportunity to attend Andover. Whether you come from down the street or across the world, regardless of whether your student received financial aid or not, no matter how involved you have been with the school, you have sacrificed time with your child at a crucial point in their life so that they could access the extraordinary educational opportunities that this school can offer. Each of these students has grown, perhaps beyond recognition. They've worked very hard. If you are wondering, they have all worked very hard. That is why they are here today. And they are now ready, as Kelly said, extremely ready for the next chapter in their lives, all as it should be. On behalf of the faculty and staff, we thank you for sharing these terrific young people with us for their entire high school years, or 1 year, regardless of the case. Thank you, I really mean that. And I think, students, we ought to have a similarly rousing round of applause for your parents, grandparents, guardians, and friends. Thank you. From where I stand, I could see parents waving to their kids, a beautiful sight. And to the great class of 2019, congratulations and thank you. You have earned this big day. It's been a long time in coming. Kelly and Nick, first of all, you have been exceptionally good leaders. You have been role models as school presidents. You have set a serious, constructive, positive tone on this campus. You have sought to leave the school a better place than you found it. You have challenged adults and students alike to do better and to be better. Kelly, you challenged a distinguished university professor on a core statement of her all-school meeting address in a way that was revelatory and important. Nick, you called upon us as adults and students to forge closer bonds, to pay attention to our cross-generational relationship. You have both learned and grown as leaders in ways that I much admire. Job well done. And I'd love to have a round of applause also for your student body co-presidents, Nick and Kelly. Really well done. Seniors, if you would cast your mind back to last September, we began this year, your final year, with a celebration you will no doubt remember. We met in this very spot to dedicate this quadrangle in a special ceremony. With the help of Ava and Thaddeus and LCG, we gathered on these steps and on this grass to rename this quadrangle in honor of Richard T. Greener, class of 1865. Mr. Greener is most likely the first African-American graduate of Phillips Academy or Abbott Academy, and also the first African-American graduate of Harvard College. Mr. Greener went on to a long and distinguished career in education, law, and diplomacy. He was an important intellectual sparring partner of Frederick Douglass and a leading voice in the 19th century movement for civil rights in America. Seniors, think about this for a moment. You will always have the following distinction. You are the first class to graduate from Andover on the Greener Quadrangle. I can think of no more deserving group of young people than the great class of 2019 to have this enduring honor. Just as you are now linked forever to the legacy of Mr. Greener, Phillips Academy and Abbott Academy have been entwined with the history of this country from its inception. Recall that the Phillips family began their boys' school here on Andover Hill in 1778 in the midst of a revolution. Samuel Phillips and Phoebe Foxcroft Phillips were friends and admirers of General George Washington, helping to provide munitions and organize soldiers to fight the British. Shortly after he became president, George Washington came to Andover in 1789. He gave an important speech and in 1795 sent his great-nephews to be educated here. Our campus today juxtaposes George Washington Hall, honoring our country's first president and, we acknowledge, Virginian slaveholder, with Richard T. Greener Quadrangle, honoring our first African-American graduate. A few months later, in your senior year, members of the class of 2019, our community lost the first United States president to graduate from Phillips Academy. Not long after we dedicated the Greener Quadrangle, we mourned the loss of George Herbert Walker Bush, Andover class of 1942, and the 31st president of the United States. A few weeks ago, we celebrated his life through the visit of his granddaughter, Barbara Bush, who joined us for an all-school meeting and unveiled with us a plaque bearing President Bush's name in Cochran Chapel. What you may not know is that George Herbert Walker Bush, like George Washington, came to this campus shortly after he was elected president. In fact, exactly 200 years after President Washington came to Andover in 1789, President Bush came back to Andover in 1989. Bush, like Washington, gave an address and then planted a tree brought from the White House grounds, which now grows partway down the vista over there. And as you walk from this ceremony to your graduation ceremony, you will walk right past that bush tree. And this is one of the things I love most about Andover. It is a school that is inextricably linked to the history and founding values of America. At the same time, it is also a school that has helped to remake the landscape of this country through the work of its students, faculty, staff, and alumni. This Andover is the school of Richard T. Greener, Phillips Academy class of 1865, and George Herbert Walker Bush, Phillips Academy class of 1942. This Andover is the school of Donna Brace Ogilvie, Abbott Academy class of 1930, who had the vision to endow the Brace Center for Gender Studies, the only institution of its kind at a high school that I know of. This Andover, this is the school of Oscar Tang, class of 1956, whose generosity lies at the heart of Andover's commitment as the only need-blind school of its kind. This Andover, this is the school of activist Ai-jen Poo, Phillips Academy class of 1992, who demands that we afford those who work in domestic settings a life with dignity and basic human rights. This Andover is the school of Amy Falls, class of 1982, the first woman to be elected board president of Phillips Academy or Abbott Academy. May this always be true. Seniors, you too are now linked to the history of this country, both through those presidents and through our graduates who have paved the way for reform of this country. I hope you will take deep inspiration for those who have come before you, both in honoring worthy traditions and in making new ones, fashioning a world that will someday live up to the ideals of our charter. Youth from every quarter, non sibi, knowledge and goodness, finis irrigine pendit. As individuals, as a school, as a nation, as a world, we are a work in progress. It is up to you and to all of us to continue this essential project. I believe in you and what you will go on to do. Seniors, we have a final job to do together, you and I. Today it's our job to say goodbye to Andover, at least for the time being. George Herbert Walker Bush offered this advice when it came to saying goodbye. It's a quote: "Be strong, be kind, be generous of spirit, be understanding, and let people know how grateful you are. Don't get even. Comfort the ones you've hurt and let down. Say your prayers and ask for God's understanding and strength. Finish with a smile and some gusto, and do what's right." We've all lived as part of a community that has inspired us and, yes, on occasion, let us down. We haven't been perfect. I know as head of school, I do not leave with a record of perfect decision-making. Far from it. I know you will all agree with me there. I know for a fact that no one of you leaves with a perfect record of academic prowess, or a perfect batting average, or an error-free record of being a friend. Jackson Emus, you came close. Despite these imperfections, we leave behind a place that strives every day to live up to its values, a place with real humility, whose community members work hard to do what is right, a place in which you have played an essential part in these past 1, 2, 3, or 4 years. We apologize to those we've wronged and express our understanding to those who have wronged us along the way. We take inspiration from the extraordinary things about this place, and we learn from our mistakes and the mistakes of others. We learn from this learning institution and our part in it. We take its lessons with us on to our next challenges. That, after all, is the meaning of commencement. For me, as we say goodbye, seniors, the most important thing is to let people know how grateful we are. I thank each one of you for being a part of my life and the lives of my family for these past 7 years. I thank my colleagues on the staff and the faculty, I see you out there, for their devotion to the cause of access to education, a noble calling, and for believing in each one of our students. I thank the board for being the very best group of bosses I can imagine, and this is a great turnout of the board here to represent today, for which I'm grateful. And most of all, to my friend Peter Curry, the board president, for his deep wisdom, his unstinting support, and his bottomless personal generosity. I thank each parent, grandparent, and guardian for the precious time with your loved ones. And with a very full heart, I thank the students of Andover for making this the most wonderful place to live, work, and learn, and the most fulfilling job I can imagine. Students, soon to be graduates of the class of 2019, I ask that you in turn find ways to thank those who have supported you along this journey. Your parents, your guardians, your teachers, your coaches, your mentors, and friends. In my view, that's the most important job you and I have today. 8 years ago, Peter Curry, Barbara Landis Chase, and the Board of Trustees invited me to speak to the class of 2012 and those enrolled at PA when I was appointed. That day, I looked out on a sea of faces in the Smith Center. I wasn't yet the head of school, and I didn't really know a single student then. I wasn't entirely sure what to say. After all, at the time, I was a law professor and not a head of school. I had to say something, so I built my short remarks upon a hunch. Of Andover as a high school, I said this to the students: it doesn't get any harder than this, and it doesn't get any better than this. Not that anyone would remember my saying it that day, but I remembered. It was a risky thing to claim. I wasn't sure if it would prove true for the students who were still sticking around while I was there as their head of school. You seniors, you now know what it takes to get through Andover. You know that you can take on an extremely hard academic challenge. You can live with a group of students from all over the world and a diverse array of backgrounds, and you can emerge well prepared for what comes next for college and in life beyond. After 7 years as head of school here and 4 as your head of school, I think that prediction more or less turns out to be true. I suspect most of you would agree, or perhaps will come to agree as alumni with me when I say this of Andover. It doesn't get any harder than this, and on most days, it doesn't get any better than this. As you say goodbye to Andover and to one another and to all of us, I hope and trust that you will remember several things. I hope you will take with you Andover's deep and abiding connection to our country's history. I hope that our shared connection to enduring ideas and values, as yet unfulfilled but within sight, has found its way into your bones, as it has for me. And I hope that you will leave this place with the knowledge that once you've done Andover, you know you can do just about anything. Use this sure foundation, this extraordinary foundation, wisely and for good, in the spirit of non-sibi. Members of the class of 2019, I wish you nothing but the very best in what lies ahead. We, as your faculty members and as trustees of this school, we believe in you. We have huge faith in each one of you, starting with your ability to say goodbye well today, and then to go out and improve the world through your life's work. I am so excited to learn about what you will do and to stay connected to your story and to the story of this extraordinary Andover community. In closing, members of the class of 2019, let's go out with a big smile together. Godspeed, and thank you. Congratulations.